snake. It's the snake boss. Okay. You know, I mean, I think the damage is good. You know, I think it's okay for being 15s, tier 15s. I would say the damage is all right. It's doable. It's acceptable. Oh, it's the Frostwolf lady. It was the Frostwolf lady. This guy's gonna wreck me if he hits me. If he hits me, or he's just dead. See ya, buddy. Hey YouTube, I'm just Anthony. Welcome back. We are in it with another Mad Monk build guide update. This is for our Acolyte of Chayula Chaos Monk. This time around, it's going to be accompanied by a Mobalytics written guide on the Mobalytics site. We are going to be partnering with Mobalytics for this guide. This guide is going to be the final guide for the standard edition of the Mad Monk. After this, we'll be moving into progressing through a high-end version of the build, and then we'll be progressing into any variants that we're going to be doing. But this is going to be the final standard version of the build. So what you see right now and what you get pretty much. Everything will be on Mobalytics, so you can follow along and progress your character all the way to the point you see here with the gameplay footage and all the items and skills that we have. So without further ado, I want to show you some gameplay footage. This is actually within the last 1 to 2 days that we've been playing. It's going to be level 93 on our character. We are actually almost 94 right now, which is awesome. We've been grinding. All the gameplay footage is from either tier 15 or tier 16 maps, or ultimatum level 80 10 stage trial ultimatums, since we were doing a lot of farming of ultimatums to try to make some currency with the fate offerings at the end of the ultimatums. So hope you enjoy, and I'll see you right afterward. Oh, it's this guy. See ya, buddy. See ya, buddy. That's kind of weak. Very first time running this. Look at her. Look at her. Works for me. I even messed that up. I timed the totems wrong. What is that loot? Here we go. Whatever. We're doing it. Whatever. Hey, you, wake up. Oh, hello. Oh, hello. I don't know what I was worried about. I don't know what I was worried about. I was worried about her top body slamming us, but never mind. She just dies. Works for me. Works for me.
Will you prove to be food or fatal?
Boop, boom. Bum, bum, bum. Easy peasy. Snakes. Chaos resist snakes, huh? That's cheating. uh... I still like our setup with the arrows and totems for like essences and breach and expedition. Whatever league mechanic we're doing with our arrows plus our totems for pre-setup before we like open the essence or before we start the breach, it's making everything awesome. So back. Meow. Oh, I was right on that one. Not today. Oh. Oh shit, that was funny. I had to catch up to my damage, you know, my damage was pushing up the map and I had to catch up to it. It was outpacing me. The spread was outpacing me on the map. That's funny, man. Purple rain. Where's all my breach hands at? Like, holy mobs. There's one. What the hell, man? Let me get this one. Alrighty, well, there you have it. We had some bossing, we had some general mapping, and then we had gameplay showing the setup with Vine Arrow and our effigy totems when we're doing things like breaches, essences, or expedition. It's a really great setup because it keeps us nice and safe when we start those things. A lot of people have trouble with the breaches. You walk into that breach and you get mobbed and just blown up. But in tier 15 and 16s right now, we still have no issues. We open that breach with all of our plants and totems down, and they will instantly start clearing the screen so we can get our contagion and our essence drains rolling. And then from there, we can safely push away from the breach. Or if it's the expedition, we can start killing the mobs as the explosives are going off. We already have plants down and totems ready. So it's very effective and very nice. Without that, you leave where our character is vulnerable. We don't have an immediate means to start clearing the screen without that setup. So that's why I definitely wanted to showcase that for you in some of those clips. Let's move right on into the abilities though. Alrighty, jumping into the abilities, let's start right off. On your wand, you can have Chaos Bolt, and you can use Chaos Bolt if you like, but a lot of times you're going to be trying to get a wand that has the affixes that are going to help our characters damage. And sometimes that'll come with power siphon or mana drain or anything like that. That is okay. We are not going to be using our wand and the ability on the wand for this build. So you don't have to get a Chaos Bolt wand. It's just something that if you ever want to play around in, you can move some skill gems in and play around with some Chaos Bolt if you're farming maybe little lower tier maps. If you want to run through some tier 12s or 11s and put a bunch of skills in Chaos Bolt, you can actually with this build just run through the map. It's very easy, but that's not what we're doing. Let's go right on down to the primary skills. We have Into the Breach. This is from our Ascendancy. This allows us to see flames of Chayula on the ground, all of these little wonderful flames. This is awesome because these red and blue flames give us life back and mana back, and then the purple flames give us gain chaos damage as extra damage. That mainly is going to affect our totem more than anything, but our totem is our single target damage. Our totems are doing the brunt of all of our single target, so which is fantastic. Going into the breach, we have herbalism, cannibalism, clarity, and vitality. These are pretty much every persistent support gem we can currently get in the game, minus the accuracy support gem, because we just don't need it. We don't need the accuracy support gem. What's really nice to note is because our Ascendancy, when we get Waking Dream, it doubles the effects of our Flame of Chayula and increases their duration by 2 times. This is for some reason also affecting our herbalism, cannibalism, clarity. If I open up right here, you're going to see it says increase flash life recovery 60%. Life recovery on kill granted 8%. You know, mana regeneration 60. These are supposed to be 30, 30, and 4. You see the 2 30s and the 4? Because we have the Ascendancy that's doubling the Flames of Chayula, it is also doubling all of our persistent support gems. If this is intended, that is a very big deal going into the future when GGG releases more persistent support gems for our character, because that's going to definitely empower the build massively if we can have some support gems, maybe even in the future something like determination or something they put in the game that's going to give us a bunch of armor. And then Into the Breach makes it twice as strong. It seems a little broken, and I'm wondering if they're going to revert that or fix that, because it doesn't specifically say it's going to be buffing any of the supports in Into the Breach. Going down, Essence Drain is our next ability. It's one of our primary abilities. It's our largest dot ability on targets. We're going to be supporting it with 3 damage gems and 1 utility gem. We're going to have Swift Affliction, Chain. Chain support's going to allow us to throw the Essence Drain out. It's going to hit a target, and then it's going to shoot 2 more projectiles at the next 2 closest targets to that target. The game is going to auto lock onto 2 other targets and shoot it at them. Now, you're going to be looking at it, and it says deal 50% less damage with hits. We do not care about the actual hit of the ability. That's this 14,000 DPS right here. This does not reflect the actual dot of the ability. So if we go right in here, the damage over time for ours right now is 10,000 a second for just over 5 seconds. So this does not get affected by the chain. This will stay the full amount. The chain is only reducing the initial hit of the ability, which is at 14,000 right when it connects. Moving on, we have Intense Agony. This is going to make it when you hit a target that's at full life with the Essence Drain, they're going to take 50% more dot damage from the dot that is being applied. And then we have Chaos Mastery just to increase the gem level. Gem levels are very important for all your gear. It's one of your greatest damage buffs you're going to have. So you see right here, our Essence Drain currently is level 29. These are level 19 skill gems. Every one of these skill gems you're going to see on our character are level 19, and every single one of our skill gems are only 4-socketed. That's it. 4 sockets with all the gameplay footage you saw. That's what we're already rocking with. So this build can only get stronger from here, but this is going to be very affordable for most players. If you're worried about those insanely pricey Perfect Jeweler's orbs, or you're just like me, not very lucky and haven't had a single Perfect Jeweler's orbs drop in the hundreds of hours I've already played, it feels like, that's okay. You don't need it. This is a very budget-friendly build. Moving on from there, we have Contagion. Contagion is our next damage over time chaos ability. The great thing about Contagion is when a target dies from Contagion, it's going to take any damage over time dot on the target and spread it to the next targets around it. And every time it spreads, it gets stronger by 100% more damage. We qualityed it already on the gym, and it says after it's jumped 4 times, it's going to be doing 400% more damage. That's fantastic for map clearing. That means once your Essence Drain and Contagion kills the first target that you throw it on, after that, your skills are actually just doing more and more damage as the Contagion keeps jumping. And that's when you start seeing the screen clear very rapidly because your dots got elevated as they jumped. We are going to be on the Contagion. We are going to have Hinder, which slows the targets that have Contagion. We're going to use Magnified Effect, so the Contagion, or the Contagion will have just slightly larger jumping range, so it can jump to other targets. Even a little bit extra range is good because we want it to jump as much as possible. We have Chaotic Freeze on there. Chaotic Freeze makes it where once Contagion's on the target, any spell hits that we do to the target has freeze buildup, and we can freeze the targets. We are not hitting the target very much, but our totems are doing a machine gun of hits. They are Gatling guns. So our totems are freezing the target very, very rapidly because of how many hits the totems are doing. So this is fantastic. And then for our final one, we have Encumbrance. Encumbrance is enhancing the effect of Hinder to make the slow even greater, the magnitude of the slow. So targets are, it's a defensive layer. Targets that can't move very fast is going to have your character safer because that's what we're doing. We're waiting for targets to die with dots on them. We're not instantly deleting the whole screen. So therefore, we do need some defensive layers. And when the targets are either slowed or frozen, that is a defensive layer because they're not doing damage to us. That's very important. Going down, Dark Effigy, my favorite ability right now on this build. Dark Effigy, it summons a Chaos Totem that just shoots purple rain. It's just purple projectiles at everything on the screen that has a chaos dot on the enemy. And the way it scales is it'll shoot additional chaos dots dependent on or additional projectiles dependent on how many chaos dots are on the target. So right now we're trying to scale it with 5 different chaos damage over time tots. And the great part is Dark Effigy can be scaled with its own attack speed. So if we dive right into Dark Effigy, we're not going to look at this first page right here. Use and stuff doesn't really matter. The duration matters. We have 7 seconds. That's something to always remember. But let's go over to Vile Infusion. So this is the actual Dark Effigy right here when it's out and shooting. So it says damage per second is 7,651. Right now with the cast speed that we have both on our skill tree and our character, it's almost at 3 casts a second. Now, this number right here is if the target had only 1 chaos damage over time ability. We are going to be stacking up to 5 chaos damage over time abilities on the target. So you're pretty much going to be taking this number and times it by 5. That's how much damage our totems are doing. And not only that, this is only reflective off of 1 totem. We are able to summon 2 totems. So we are going to have all these dots on the target, which are already doing lots and lots of damage, thousands and thousands of damage once we have all of our dots on the target. And then we have 2 totems that are capitalizing on all those dots and just shooting a machine gun, a Gatling guns of purple damage at the target. And it's also nice too, because once you have all your dots out and totems out, you become almost a defensive player where you're running around, avoiding mechanics of watching enemies. You're a dot-based build that drops totems, and then you want to then focus on your character's survival after that. You don't have to just constantly be clicking your ability buttons nonstop. Your abilities are already out, damage is rolling. Now you can actually play a little bit safer. This build can be played so safe when you're mapping to level up if you want to play nice and slow, and you'll just never die because you can play so far back and just let all your dots roll and kill things off screen. It's very nice. Moving on from there, we have, oh, I didn't go over the gems. We are going to be supporting our Dark Effigy with a lot of damage gems. We have Arcane Temple for more cast speed. We have Overabundance, so we can have those 2 totems. Mind you, it is 50% less duration. We are kind of countering this by getting duration on the skill tree as much as we can. So this right now makes the totems last for 7 seconds. That's not a long time. You definitely want all the duration on the skill tree before you put Overabundance in, or your totems are going to fall off. If you're doing the campaign and you haven't yet got the duration nodes on the skill tree, you most likely do not want to use Overabundance, because your totem is just going to be out for a few seconds and then fall down and go away. It's a lot better just to have the 1 totem during the campaign and just make it do more damage. Moving on from there, we have Considered Casting. This is going to reduce the cast speed by 15% less, but it does 40% more damage with spell hits. These are spell hits from the totem. And then we have Controlled Destruction, which makes it where the totem cannot crit, but it's again doing 30% more damage with the hits. We want consistent guaranteed damage with the totem, and we're not a crit-based build, so that's okay. Going down from there, we have Despair. It is our curse. Despair is going to be reducing the resistances of the target. So you despair, it goes on a group of enemies, reduces their resistances, but also the support gems are allowing it to do some extra things as well. We have Decaying Hex. This makes it where the target is going to, for 8 seconds, have a chaos damage over time debuff on the target. The reason we do this is so our totems have yet again another way to fire more projectiles. That means that you need to reapply Despair even with all of our increased duration on the skill tree. If you're fighting a boss, that means every 8 seconds you still need to reapply your Despair, so you can make sure you're constantly reapplying that dot on the target so your totems don't stop firing. It's very important. You cannot increase this time, this 8 seconds. It is like a locked 8 seconds. That's it. It is what it is. We have Focused Curse. This is going to reduce the delay the curse has to erupt on the ground. And then we have a lot of other reduced curse activations on the skill tree. This is very important to have this on the build. And that is because we are weapon swapping from weapon set 1 to weapon set 2 when we use our curse. If you use your curse and you do not have near instantaneous curse activation, and you go back to weapon set 1, which is your wand and your shield, before the curse erupts on the ground, you will not get the benefits of the gems, and you will not get the benefits of your skill tree. You have a very short window to do so. That it is just so much easier to have your despair instantaneous, and therefore you never have to worry about not getting the benefits from your weapon set 2 applied when you do the curse. Very important. Do not miss that. If I scroll in on my character, you see this is I'm cursing. You don't even see the eruption on the ground. There is that runic symbol's not there because it's instantaneous pretty much. It's boom, done. So it's very important, because if you do that and then pull out your wand and shield again, and you still have that eruption, when you pulled out your wand and shield and then that eruption occurred, you're back to weapon set 1, your skill tree changed, and you lost the benefits of the support gems. Very, very important. Vine Arrow. This is our next ability. Vine Arrow has some very important notes. First thing I want to talk about is the level. This is because I got bonus level to my chaos abilities, but you see right here it says it's level 6. You want to try to get a Vine Arrow between level 3, 4, or 5 maximum, so it does not require that much dexterity. I would advise going back to Act 1 and getting an Act 1 Vine Arrow, because we don't want to have to get dexterity on the build. The Vine Arrow is just there to add yet another chaos dot damage over time to the target, and the Vine Arrow gives us a crowd control because it grabs and tethers enemies and slows them. And the Vine Arrow works with our effigy totems when we're setting up for things like Breach, Essence, you know, anything, any of the league mechanics that we're doing. Very important. We're going to use a Quill Rain or a bow from Act 1. A bow from Act 1, because you want, again, no dex requirement. You want it all the way down to like, 10, 14, 18, whatever lowest amount of dex requirement you can, but you do want attack speed bow. That's why I'm suggesting use a quill rain. You can get a quill rain for very cheap off of the market, the auction house. Quill rain is going to have a crazy high attack speed. So it's going to let you get plants like this out very quickly. Boom. That's how many plants, and then you're back to your abilities. These plants will last 14 seconds with our skills that we have on it. So let's go over that. We have martial tempo, increase attack speed even more. We have font of blood. That's why you saw all of our plants are red. Font of blood gives all of our plants a 2% life regeneration aura on all the plants. So when you shoot them all over the place and you drop your totems down by a breach or whatever else, all of those plants are now also healing you, which is fantastic because we have cannibalism, we have herbalism, we have vitality rolling. So remember that these all add up to your sustainability and your survivability. We have persistence on the vine arrow. This is going to make it where our vine arrows almost last 15 seconds once we shoot them. So you don't have to worry about constantly shooting them out again. And then we have scatter shot. So it shoots 3 of those arrows constantly, and you can get plants all over the screen within a few seconds. Moving down from there, we have Blasphemy. Now, we do have 2 curses, but one of our curses is going to be Blasphemy, which is a support curse aura. We don't have to cast this. It's just always active at all times. We're going to be using Enfeeble, so that means any enemies that get near us are going to do less damage. So all those melee guys or anything like that that runs up to us, they're going to do less damage. And then we have Hex Bloom. So when we kill targets that are right in our face, it'll then take that Enfeeble and it'll carry that Enfeeble onward to more targets that may not be in the vicinity to get the Enfeeble effect. It'll still carry it away from you. Going down from there, we have our last ability currently on this version of the build. We do not use this ability very often, but it is Profane Ritual. This uses a corpse on the ground to create another chaos damage over time dot on the target. It is important to note that you really don't need Profane Ritual. Almost all the gameplay footage I showed you at the start is not using Profane Ritual at all whatsoever. I hardly click this ability. The most I use this ability is when I'm doing Ultimatum and you're maybe, standing in the rings or standing somewhere where the mobs are going to constantly keep spawning on top of each other right where they just died. I will then use Profane Ritual because I know the mobs are spawning right on top of where other mobs just died. So it's very situational, but we do support that with Concentrated Effect, Burning Inscription, and Corpse Conservation to not let the corpse go. Those are the abilities we have. Now, from our skill tree, I will throw off one thing, even though we're about to jump into the skill tree. Dark Effigy from our skill tree is also applying a poison dot to the target. 2 poison dots actually that deal chaos damage over time, because on our skill tree we have a small section of nodes that say our hits have a 24% chance to poison, and our Dark Effigy is hitting like over 20 times a second, both of them, and they're both shooting. So 24% chance pretty much means there's 100% uptime on our 2 stacks of poison just with the sheer fire rate of our Dark Effigies, which is funny because the moment the Dark Effigy applies the poison, it then increases the attack speed or cast speed of the Dark Effigy to fire more projectiles. The Dark Effigy in itself is giving itself its own buff with the way we have the skill tree right now. So it's fantastic. It's fantastic the way everything worked out. Let's get a brief overview of how you use the abilities. All right, so jumping into the general gameplay, let's just go over mapping and then like the subset where bossing, essences, breach, and all that separately. So for mapping, a lot of times, especially once you get your gear shored up, you start getting to higher level where you have most of your skill tree fleshed out. Most of the time with mapping, you can clear everything with Essence Drain and Contagion. You literally can just throw Essence Drain, hit that same target with Contagion, and then just watch as everything starts dying while you keep moving your character, and you're almost herding the enemies together. You're just a sheep herder at that point where you want to try to make all the enemies converge and clump on top of each other while you push forward and your dots just start rolling. While you're doing that, you can throw a totem down. If you see a rare pack of enemy, a rare enemy, or a pack of magic enemies, you can hit them with that despair, you know, anything like that. Generally, you're not going to be using Vine Arrow too much while clearing. You're mostly going to be using your Essence Drain, Contagion, and Totem, and then just despair as you need to, which when you're in the leveling process through the campaign, you will be using despair quite often, but during the final stages of the game, you really won't need to unless it's a magic pack or a rare mob. You can just run through the map and kill as fast as you can. Now, doing bosses or doing essences or anything like that, if we pretend the Atlas map device right here is an essence, right before you're going to open that essence mob, which we all know essence mobs can sometimes be pushovers, or they're going to one-shot you the moment they open the essence. It is what it is. What I like to do is you shoot a bunch of plants down, make sure they're covering the whole area with the side minions. You put your 2 totems, instantly click the essence, and I roll away immediately. All these plants are going to grab all the mobs, and the 2 totems are going to immediately start firing because the plants grabbed the mobs and are doing chaos damage over time. The totems will start firing. They're doing AoE to everything because everything has chaos dots on them. Therefore, the totems are going to shoot projectiles at every target. And once the totems hit those targets, they are going to apply poison, which is then going to increase the fire rate of the totems again. So usually right after you roll away, then I will use my Essence Drain, Contagion, Despair, whatever I need. But there's so many times when if you put your plants down and put your 2 totems down, open the essence and roll away, you literally can just watch as the plants and the 2 totems will kill not only the essence monster, but all of the ads very rapidly, and you haven't even really thrown any abilities out. It is so effective. It's so nice. So quality of life. Same thing with Breach. You'll do the same thing. If this was the Breach, I like to cover a large area of the screen. If this was Breach, these last 15 seconds, I would throw 2 totems down and walk into the breach. Then all the mobs are going to start spawning around you, and all of these plants are going to grab those mobs, do chaos damage over time. They're going to slow them because the plants do slowing with the tethers, and then your totems are going to just be shooting purple projectiles in every single direction to cover you. That way you can get your initial Essence Drain and Contagions rolling on the breach monsters. You're safe. Now you can push out of the breach and start clearing the breach and running out, killing the rares, finding the breach hands, getting your splinters. You just want to do it so you can survive the initial opening of the breach hand. That is the hardest part for a lot of players, is the initial opening of the breach. I see it all the time. We got you covered. Bosses. Most bosses have an intro animation where they're like, you know, talking or walking into the arena or wiping their weapon, whatever that intro animation is that takes a few seconds for them to do. I always will shoot a couple arrows on them, plant my 2 totems. By the time I usually plant the second totem, the boss is already now engaged and combat has started. The plants will instantly grab the boss, the totems will instantly start firing, and then that's when I'll throw the Essence Drain, Contagion, and Despair immediately. And then right after that, usually I'm ready to almost have to summon the totems again because 7 seconds has passed. When the boss gets frozen, you're going to see that that is a big opportunity burst window for you to do lots of damage. Also, though, it's an opportunity where if your plants fell down or your buffs fell off, try to get whatever that you can. Right when they get frozen, get plants underneath the target once it got frozen, get your totems out if they're about to go down, and get all 3 of your dots back up. That way, when the target, if the boss still isn't dead by then and he gets unfrozen, you're good to start running around their arena, avoiding all of his damage while all of your damage is still going. It's still pumping because you put all your dots on there and you have your totems out. It is a nice passive play style where you can prioritize your character's survival while your damage is still completely going in 100%. It's very, very nice. That's about it for the abilities. The Mobalytics guide is going to have way more information on all the abilities, the support gems we have. There's a how to play section talking about how the abilities function with each other. But for now, let's jump on over to the skill tree. Alrighty, jumping into the skill tree right off the bat, I do want to showcase that right up here we are using every single point from our weapon set 1 and weapon set 2. This is very important. I know a lot of people are still getting comfortable or familiar with how weapon sets work and how weapon swapping works in PoE 2, especially since we just generally don't do that in Path of Exile 1. It's very nice. When you get used to it, it essentially is giving us 24 more points to use. It is not giving us 24 more points. What we're doing is using the same point twice, if that makes sense. We'll get into that in 1 second. Let's dive right into the Ascendancy. We are the Acolyte of Chayula, of course. And going through this is going to be the same order that I would suggest you get when you're doing your trials. I would start off by going right down this way, skill speed, Waking Dream to get that into the breach so you can see the flames of Chayula. You go back here for skill speed again, and then Lucid Dreaming, where the effect and duration of the Flames of Chayula is doubled on your character. This is fantastic. This is when it really starts being good. The initial Into the Breach from Waking Dream is okay. It's not that great. 100% transparency. It only gives you 7% life and mana, and only 7% gain damage as chaos, and it only lasts 5 seconds, which falls off so quickly. But once you get Lucid Dreaming, it gives you 14% life and mana for every flame, and it gives you 14% gain chaos damage as gain damage as extra chaos, and that'll last 10 seconds. Please note, though, that your purple flames of Chayula have their own independent cooldown. So you can't just grab 10 flames real quick while mapping and try to constantly refresh those 10 flames to keep them going. That would just be so overpowered because we would always have 140% gain damage as extra chaos, which would be absolutely bonkers. You can even run around, grab 10 flames, and then start a boss encounter real quick. So it looks like GGG thought of that, and each flame has its own independent 10-second timer. So you don't have to worry about min-maxing too much with the flames. Try to pick up as much as you can, though. It gives your totems a massive damage boost. Going over here, next after you get this row right here, I would get Chaos Resistance and Chayula's Gift. Chayula's Gift is crazy good. It gives us plus 10% to your maximum chaos, and all the chaos resistance that you get, whether it's from your gear, your skill tree, gems, whatever it is going to be doubled. It is so easy to get 85% chaos resist. That's what I have right now. 85 chaos resistance feels so good. Every time you get hit by chaos abilities, they do nothing. It's fantastic. And then last, for your final Ascendancy, we're going to get this Chaos Damage node right here and Reality Rending. Reality Rending is mostly going to be affecting our totems, but with the sheer fire rate of our totems, this actually procs nonstop. This is going to make your totem damage a little bit of a roller coaster, but no matter what, it's an increase in the damage of our totems no matter what's happening. Sometimes on bosses, you can really tell that Reality Rending is just kicking in the high gear because that boss is going to go down in 4 seconds and you're all like, whoa. And then there's other times where the bosses are actually living. They actually survive past your freeze stage and you're just like, all right, I don't think Reality Rending really kicked in too many times right there on my initial opener when the boss came onto the arena. So just be very mindful of that. We will possibly experiment with some of the other nodes, but this is just for the standard edition of this build right now as it stands. Any variations to this are going to be made as a separate guide for a different variant of the build. This build is complete and final. You can follow it from now and get it all the way to where you see I have it currently from the gameplay footage you saw at the start. So going through the tree, right off the bat, we're just getting skill speed, whatever nodes we need to meet our requirements, dexterity, strength, intelligence. We come right down here, attack and cast speed, come up here, more skill speed, mana regen, and skill speed. Skill speed is great because it counts as cast speed and attack speed. And we do have attack speed on our bow for the bow attack. And then skill speed is just anything that's casting ability or using ability. Dark Effigy is a use time ability. Skill speed is just great. It affects just about everything. Going up over this way, we have a lot of mana nodes nodes and intelligence nodes. This is 30% increased maximum energies, 10 intelligence. We're mainly just having to path through this. Cast speed, cast speed, cast speed, very juicy cast speed nodes right here. Mana regen, and then spell damage and intelligence. Going straight up from there and over, this is our first set you can see right here of weapon set 2. This is a curse wheel. It has increased area of effective curses, and then it'll have the curse do a hinder. Our contagion hinders already, but it's still nice that this is going to give you 40% increased area of effect and 8% increased effect of your curses. It makes our despair very strong. I believe right now with our despair, it's reducing chaos resist. I think it's like 71% or 72% on the target. That is a massive amount of chaos resistance reduction on the target. That's what's elevating our damage a lot. Coming right over here, this is going to be a general weapon set. So you see it's the same color. This is chaos damage and skill effect duration. This affects every ability we have. So we want this to be on both weapon sets. Coming up over here, we travel here, and then you see this different color. It's like a peach color. On Mobalytics, I believe it's going to be red, so you can easily see the difference. In game right now, I wish they need to change these colors to like a darker green and like a darker red. But right here, we have spell damage, spell damage, spell damage, and spell damage, reduced cast speed. That hurts a little bit, but it does slightly outweigh it with the 30% increased spell damage because we really don't care about cast speed for our dots. So no matter what, this is buffing our dots and having our totems still do a little bit more damage. It's not hurting our totems too much, but just slightly. As you see, this is weapon set 1 though. We have right here, this is not a general set. I'm going to actually use this as an example though of how weapon sets work. So if you were to travel here, go all the way around, get this, travel here and here. Now, these are all your primary nodes. You're back to 0. You have to wait till you level again. You just leveled, you hit ding, you look over here on the side and it says skill point 1. 1 skill point, right? That's all you have to use. But you've got all of this right here in the middle. You can then hit weapon set 1 and it says allocating points for weapon set 1. You can click on the spell damage. You can then click weapon set 2, allocating weapon set 2, and then you can click on this increased area of effect curse. Now, even though you only had 1 point, what you effectively did is you used that 1 point 2 times is what you did. And that's what we're going to be doing on several areas of this tree. This is one example where we have 4 nodes right here and 4 nodes right here where we can start using weapon sets at the same time to use effectively our 1 node point. Moving up from there, we have, this is on our general tree right here. We have increasing the slow magnitude. This definitely comes into effect with our contagion because our contagion is applying hinder. This increases the duration of hinder as well. And then down here, any target that is slowed is going to take 30% increased damage from hits or, that are hindered, and we are hindering with contagion. This is going to affect, again, our effigy totems. Our effigy totems are going to be doing 30% increased damage because our contagion is putting hinder on the target. Very important. Let's move straight up, and we'll go down from here. This is in no specific order for leveling guide, by the way. This is just covering the skill tree. We're going to go straight up and down. Going over here, we have attack speed, attack speed, attack speed, attack speed, and then reduced cost of skills. As you see, this is green. So this is weapon set 2. And then going down here over 1, we have all these curse nodes right here for faster curse activation and increased effect of your curses. Effective curses is very nice. That's what makes our despair so powerful. And then of course, you see the 40% faster, 10% faster. All these faster activations are so important because we want that instant cast despair. We want despair to instantly cast before we pull out our wand and our shield again. Going down from there, we have a jewel socket, and then we move into this really awesome and really dangerous chaos wheel right here. So the reason I say this is a really dangerous chaos wheel, and as you see the color of the line, this is a weapon set 1 only. So these green lines, weapon set 2, these right here, weapon set 1. When you get event horizon, this is a very important node on the tree. It's very important because players struggle with this and kill themselves. It says you do 53% increased chaos damage, but you lose 3% of life and energy when you use a chaos skill. you already need cannibalism, and if you can, herbalism as well, socketed into the breach. The reason is with cannibalism, when you kill targets, you get 4% life back for every target. And then once you upgrade your Into the Breach with the lucid dreaming, which doubles the effect of cannibalism, where you get 8% life back for every single time you kill a target, it's going to outweigh the damage you're doing to yourself with Event Horizon. So we can spam our abilities, which are only taking 3% of our life, and as we're clearing the screen of enemies, we're getting 8%, or the weaker version, 4% from all the enemies we kill. Of course, you can't really get this on bosses, so that's why we also have the herbalism, which is increasing our life flask recovery, so we can have really big life flasks to heal ourselves as we're killing ourselves and maybe taking damage from bosses or whatever else. So very important. Do not get Event Horizon until you already have cannibalism active. And then, of course, you got spaghettification right over here. I love that this gives you movement speed because everybody loves movement speed. It gives you increased chaos damage. It looks bad that it gives you minus 13% chaos resistance, but that is another reason that we're taking Chayula's gift on our ascendancy, is so we can easily still get all of our chaos resistance back and get it all the way back to 85% chaos res. Even with something like this where it says minus 13%, doesn't affect us at all, does nothing. Also, too, 7% increased attributes. This spaghettification is awesome. It's such a great like super buff for a talent. The only negative side is light radius, of course, and then chaos resistance. Let's go back to the center here, and we're going to go up in this way now. Going up here and going straight up from here, we have Eldritch Battery. Eldritch Battery converts all of our energy shields to mana. And then going over here, we have mana regeneration nodes and then mana nodes themselves. This gives us 50% increased mana regeneration while we're moving. You're always moving. You're never standing still. So this is pretty much just 50% mana regeneration. And then we have 12% increased maximum mana and 10% increased mana cost of skills. The 10% increased cost of skills, that's kind of not too good, but it's okay because of 12% max mana, we are getting Arcane Intensity, which we gain 3% increased spell damage per 100 mana. As we continue getting our gear better and better and better, we're going to have just greater amounts of mana. As you see right now over to the side here, I have 2,600 mana even currently to go with this Arcane Intensity to give us spell damage, which is nice. Moving straight on over, we got another jewel socket. I'll cover the jewel sockets in a bit. We're going to have all the same jewels in every single socket. Going up from here, you're going to reach this point, and you see again, we have a green line, curses. Once again, we have a very, very important curse wheel. It's going to have a lot of increased effect of your curse and reduced curse duration. That's okay. We don't care about the curse duration too much, especially since we have to reapply it every 8 seconds to get the dot when we're fighting bosses. But this effect is a lot of effect. This is making our despair reduce the chaos resistance of the target a lot. Very important will. Moving straight over from there, we have a chaos will. This is a general will. It's not on weapon set 1 or anything like that. A lot of chaos damage going down, and then 29% increased chaos damage, and enemies you curse have minus 3% to chaos resistance. This is just helping for any time we use despair, or if targets get hit by our blasphemy and our feeble. It's just 3% chaos res. It's just 3%. That's nice. We'll take it. Anything's a damage buff. Right over here, we have another jewel. Let's go back over here and go straight up. We have this cast speed, 5% cast speed, mana regen, and intelligence. Nice nodes. Another jewel. Let's move straight up and left from here. This is a very important will. It's a duration will. 10%, 10%, and 25%. 45% increased duration. This is extremely important. Try to make sure our totems can stay out as long as possible, since we are reducing the duration of the totems to have 2 of them. And then this is also going to affect the dot duration, how long your dots are going to stay on the target, which is also very important because that's more damage that you don't have to be trying to min-max and keep uptime. And that's just going to make sure your dots don't fall off, so your totems can keep shooting at their maximum rate of fire. Very important. Coming right up over here, this is for both sides. This is just really nice because it gives us a ton of intelligence. It's a plus 25 intelligence node. I like that, so I'm going to get it. If you don't want this, you can get these 2 nodes back. This is a later in your skill tree choice. You can literally save these for closer to the end if you need to. Or if you are struggling with getting intelligence on your gear, you can get these early, and that is a lot of intelligence. Moving straight on over from there, we're going to hit this point to get Whispers of Doom. This is what's allowing us to have 2 curses. But then you see here, it says double activation delay of the curses. Another reason why we're putting that faster activation on our Despair gem and why we're getting the fast activation on a lot of our nodes is because we are definitely trying to counter this because our Despair needs to be instant. This allows us to have that Blasphemy with Enfeeble on our second curse. And then going in weapon set 2, again, we're using weapon set 2 right here to get a curse duration nodes and then increased curse effect. Again, we don't care too much about these curse duration, but the 10% increased effect of your curses is so nice. And the duration is nice too, don't get me wrong. It will make packs of mobs keep the curse on them for a long time if for whatever reason you do let the 8 seconds fall off, but the Despair is still going to be on the boss, so it's still going to be having your other abilities do the increased amount of damage. It's no matter what, not a bad thing. Going on over here, we have that another jewel socket. Let's head back this direction, going straight down. Right here, you can see, let's go down first. We have duration for curse. And then we have enemies cursed by you have 50% reduced life regeneration, and enemies you curse cannot recharge energy shield. This is pretty good for just fighting those rares that have regeneration on the rares, or the rares that have energy shield recharge and are trying to get that going, especially in the campaign, in the late campaign when you're in the cruel difficulty. Sometimes you run along those regeneration mobs that just you're like, oh my lord, please die. You don't have to worry about it now because their regeneration is cut in half, and then the energy shield mobs for the rares don't do anything. Now we have chaos damage, all going through here. And then we have pure chaos, getting 11% of damage as extra chaos. This mainly affects the totem. As you see, this is weapon set 1, and this was weapon set 2 going down right here. Heading down this direction, this is going to be weapon set 1 again. We have spell damage, cast speed. When I level up again, I'm probably going to get effervescent. What I'll do is I'll have to unspec these right here. I'll have to then put 1 point this way and then put 3 points of my weapon set 1 back going this way is kind of how that would have to work. But this might be my next node as soon as we hit 94, which we are very close to 94. I'm like 85%. Going straight down for there, we have another jewel going straight down here. This is going to be weapon set 1. This is the newest addition to the skill tree. This is definitely not shown in any previous version of this guide, and that is the poison. Right here, we have 8% poison chance on all of these nodes, and then we have poison can be added +1 for 2 poison stacks. Now, it has been tested and proven that the effigy totem does fire additional projectiles if the target has a poison on them, which is very nice. And with this chance on hit, and our totems are hitting, it does not specify spell hit or attack hit, it just says hit. We tested it out, and the hits from our totems do apply the poison. So the spell hits from our totems apply the poison, and then that poison is going to then count as a chaos damage over time, which then increases the fire rate of the totem to have more projectiles. So the totem is essentially buffing itself is what it's doing, which is awesome. Like, this is such a big gain for our damage, and it's free. You don't have to push any extra buttons. You're already dropping your totem, and now this just adds more damage for you automatically. Going down here, we have this really good chaos wheel going around here that gives you +1 level to all chaos skills. You see this is on our general tree, not on any weapon sets. And then we go down 2 more points to get 1 last jewel. I'm going to use this jewel to cover all the jewels. We have 7 jewels on this build right now. What we're getting is spell damage, chaos damage, increased cast speed, and for your fourth you can get whatever you want. I still need to get more of these. All of my gyms have a random fourth modifier, but this is the gym that I'm going to be using as an example that I might be trying to get all my gyms. You guys can go ahead and steal it all off the market, so I can't buy them anymore. But for the fourth one, I'm thinking about getting freeze buildup, since we are freezing very quickly, and then that way our totems just freeze bosses, rares instantly, so we can just do our big nuke damage and go. This will also allow you, when you start buffing the bosses massively with your Atlas or trying anything hard, this will allow you to also get more than one freeze during a boss encounter. You can freeze them, they'll get unfrozen, you're still fighting them, and then very shortly after they will freeze again with your totem's fire rate, and they'll just get frozen a second time within the same encounter, that's just defensive layers. Not only is it free damage, if the target or boss is frozen, they can't hurt you. You're safe as can be. You're just a safe cucumber. So this is what you want. We have 7 of them on the tree. One here, 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 and here. 7 jewels. And they all have spell damage, chaos damage, cast speed. Those are what you mainly want. Don't worry about the fourth one. Try to get those 3. Spell, chaos, cast speed. Try to get at least 3 or 4% cast speed, and try to get a combined between spell damage and chaos damage. Try to get a combined at least 20% on all those gems. And you'll be set to do exactly what you're seeing here and what I had in the gameplay footage. Alrighty, let's move over to our current gear right now that you would see that we have on, that matches the gameplay footage that you saw, so you can know what to expect with where your gear might need to be. All right, let's jump into the current gear that we were wearing during the gameplay showcase that you saw at the start of the video. Let's get right into the items that are increasing our damage. That is going to be our wand. Right now on this wand, we have just game damage as extra lightning. That doesn't really matter. We have some spell damage, a little tiny bit of mana, +5 to level of all chaos spell skill gems, which is the most important part of the build for your damage, is the level of your skill gems. Please prioritize that above all else. We didn't have 32% cast speed. That is also very important for your totem damage, because cast speed is affecting our totems in a big way. And then we have 62% increased mana regeneration. I find this to be a big quality of life, because we have a lot of mana regeneration. I think we're almost to like 400 while we're moving. Mind you, we have that talent on our character that says while we're moving, we get 50% increased mana regen. And having nearly, like, I think almost 400, it makes a big difference in being able to spam your abilities without being mana starved. Do not sleep on mana regen. That's why we have so much mana regen on our skill tree, because if you try to ignore that and go, I don't need mana regen, I'll just use my mana pots, your mana pot's not going to be able to keep up with you, especially when you have something like I have. I have 2,600 mana. A little mana pot that does 500 mana over a few seconds is not, that's one ability. That's one cast of a despair or totem is 500 mana. So don't sleep on your mana regeneration. Going right on over, let's cover the necklace. I have allocated Spiral into Mania. I probably should have covered that on the skill tree. Spiral in the Mania gives us 10% cast speed and 7% chaos resistance. It is a cheaper option on the tree. It is still going to set you back a little bit, because I think you need a despair. I don't think you need a fear. I think you need a despair, but I'd have to double check for the distilled emotions. It is a medium priced anointment for your necklace. I have just a intelligence on it, lots of life and mana. You're going to notice a trend with all of our armor, as much life and mana as you can get. On the Mobalytics site, I'm going to actually show the gear that you probably would want to get, like your S tier gear that's unrealistic almost, that has the most life, the most mana on it possible. Try to get rarity, or you see that 9% rarity, I would rather that be maximum mana. If you could get life mana in percent maximum mana for your prefixes, fantastic. That would be really good. You want to get that plus to level of all spells. Try to get that 3. It does make it more expensive. Go with 1, go with 2, go with whatever you can get, but make sure you get plus level to your spell skills. It is a lot of damage. And then of course, once again, cast speed. And then this one that I have here just comes with dexterity, which makes it that I have plenty of dexterity for whatever bow I'm using and to make sure I can use vine arrow. That is it. I don't have dexterity, I think, on any other piece. Let's go to the rings next, since those are increasing our damage as well. I have lightning res, chaos damage, life and mana, cast speed again, and then fire and cold resistances. So you see resistances, life, mana, 2 damage modifiers. Going over to our other ring, we have rarity, chaos damage, life, mana, rarity again. Rarity is very important once you get to the late game and you start farming. I'm behind on getting rarity gear, and now I'm actually paying the price for it, and I'm trying to catch up. Once again, though, we have chaos damage, cast speed, life, mana, intelligence, rarity. Fantastic. Let's jump into the shield. In the written Mobalytics guide, I talk about how the shield is mandatory. You need a shield. If you go with a focus, your damage is going to be much higher with a focus, but those one taps and those machine gun a flurry of damage from random small mobs that just lock you up is going to suck when you die randomly, especially where you're like me, I'm pushing 94. Every death makes you lose so much time. It hurts a lot. You do not want to die. Get a 45% block chance shield. It'll save your life all day, every day. I think this shield blocks 5,000 attacks a day, from me. And you think that's exaggerated. I've stopped all of the attacks from porcupines. Like you have 10 porcupines on the screen, all shooting their quills. It's only 45% chance. I've had the run around the corner, every single one of those shoot me, and the shield blocks all 10 of them. It literally take no damage, and you just hear a bunch of dings on my shield from 10 porcupines blasting me to the face, 0 damage taken. Or any number of mobs. You got a lot of those fast-moving little Aztec ninja guys that like to teleport right on top of you and slice and dice you up and throw little grappling ropes on your character and try to mess you up. If you have a shield, those guys don't do anything anymore. They're a joke. They jump on you and they're little tink, 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 tink. They're just trying to hit you and you're negating so much of their damage. It's fantastic. Get a shield. Get a shield. Make sure it has 45% block chance is your priority. And then after that, life, resistances, and whatever else you need. This one is an old one that I'm using right here. I want to upgrade it because you see I don't have that much armor and energy shield. It's a very small shield. But I got this back when I was in the mid-tier maps. I think it was like map tier 9 and 10. When I was like, man, our survivability is struggling. I loved it. I've had it ever since, and it is holding strong. It is holding the line for me as far as survivability, and it's crazy to think that a shield is that powerful, but that is PoE 2 in a nutshell. Defensive layers like a shield with 45% block. Half of the attacks that ever get sent your way are blocked. It's insane. All right, let's move on over to our helmet. Right now, I have new pieces of gear that I've been working with this week. I don't even have anything in them because I'm waiting to put some soul cores in them. I think everybody really enjoys those rarity soul cores, so I've been farming a lot of ultimatum. Helmet right here, lots of armor and energy shield, lots of life and mana, your resistances, and some intelligence. Fantastic. Going down to our chest piece, I've already corrupted multiple chest pieces and bricked them and ruined them. I am still trying to get a 5-socket chest piece. This is just a chest piece I keep putting back on to while I'm bricking other chest pieces. It's like a currency dump of buying a chest piece and then bricking it. But right here you see ton of armor, 922, 323 energy shield, 190 life. We have triple resistances, and that's about it. We just want to be able to survive and live. And of course we have 2 open sockets currently. So I have 3 open sockets, and I'm max resistances on everything on my character. Going down over here, we have Storm Fists. I do have a chaos resistance node in there. Again, this is doubled, so it's actually 14% chaos resist on these gloves. Armor, energy shield, tons of life, tons of mana, intelligence, resistances. Boots, more chaos resistance. Movement speed, you want at least 30%. 25% you can get away with. Less than 25% once you go to 20%, 15%, and all that. I'm telling you guys, it's not worth it. You need as much movement speed as you can. Movement speed is essential in this game. Life, mana, I have 25% rarity on these bad boys, 32 intelligence, and some stun threshold. And then we have our belt. This is a pretty old belt, but I like it. I have double armor, life, charm, a bunch of resistance. That's actually 44 chaos resistance just off of our belt, and then just reduce flash charges and life regen. Not a big belt. This is a very cheap belt. 22 chaos resist is a lot of resist. I know right now something like this is starting to go higher up, but you see I only have one charm slot. That's it. I really, really want more than one charm slot, but I have a hard time getting rid of this belt. A lot of it is because I'm trying to find another belt that has equivalent chaos res with more than this belt has. And I'm really not needing 2 charm slots, but it would be nice. It would be nice. So that is our gear. Let's go over to our weapon set 2. As you see right here, I need to allocate some more strength when we do this. This is actually something I keep forgetting to do. Now that we're making this video, I'm glad I remember to do it. So every time I switch to a bow, I'm actually losing these. That's awful. So right here we have our Quill Rain. 100% attack speed, 19 dexterity, 16% increased arrow speed, and 40% less attack damage. We don't care about the attack damage. This is usable by a level 5 character. It requires 14 dexterity. We want it for the 100% increased attack speed and arrow speed. That makes it where we can shoot our vine arrow insanely quickly. If you can't get a Quill Rain or you're on your first character, make sure you just get a bow from Act 1 with high attack speed, and make sure it rolls at least an attack speed modifier on that bow. But you don't want it to cost that much dexterity. Try to get something like just like this, 14%, 14 or less dexterity. And then on a quiver, I got this guy right here just to show you as an example of a easy, cheap quiver. It's got, I found this and I just threw it on. It's got attack speed, more attack speed, some projectile speed, and some random accuracy on it. That's it. It doesn't matter. It's literally, you can even have no quiver. Once you have the Quill Rain, this thing is amazing. It's so good with that attack speed. But it is also very nice that we have 25% increased attack speed over here as well. So that is our gear. Jumping right over to our character screen. We have only 30% armor, not a ton. We have that really nice 45% block chance. We are sitting just shy of 2,900 life and 2,600 mana. I do get a lot of questions online about survivability. They like, why aren't you dying all the time? I stream live on Twitch every day when we're playing. I don't play that much offline when I'm not streaming, so you can see me play live and how the character works all day long. We have our 75% for all of our resistance and our 85% chaos. A lot of my survivability I attribute to the 45% block chance shield. Other than that, don't get one shot. You have to know the Bob's mechanics and all the enemies on the screen. And sometimes people die, including myself, by just trying to go too fast. Slow down just a little bit if you get a crazy map. I like to enter a map and see what type of mobs are on that map first, and then once I feel comfortable, I'll start blasting and going quicker. But if I already have some deadly mobs on the map that I don't like the mob combinations, I'll slow down and start playing a little bit more cautiously because I don't want to die. I'd rather take a little bit of time, play slowly, not die and waste all my experience. So that's where we're at right now, guys. All right, guys. Well, there you go. This is going to be the final version for the Mad Monk, the standard edition. So this is where most people can expect to get their character within a reasonable amount of playtime and investment. Most of our gear is less than an Exalt. Both our wand and our necklace were our most expensive items on our character. They go for 1 divine plus a handful of Exalts, whether it was 1.3 divines or something like that people were selling for. They were not that expensive. And then everything else on us costs anywhere from like 20 Exalts or 40 Exalts, just handfuls that you can farm in the late game, especially for something like this, that this build can easily farm tier 11, 12, 13s for you while you're farming to get ready for your 14s, 15s, and 16s. Not a big deal. It's very simple. That's what I love about it. From here on, when we do more updates to the Mobalytics, or if we do more update guides for the Mad Monk, it's going to be different variants. We'll have a high budget variant, or if we switch up the abilities and switch up the skill tree in any major way to use different chaos abilities or different combinations, we will then create new variants. I am thinking about also maybe making a tank variant because there are a lot of energy shield nodes and stuff like that on the skill tree, where I almost want to make a health, energy shield, armor based variant that just can tank a lot, but of course it's going to lose some damage, but I think that might be okay. I think a lot of players might enjoy a very tanky variant to the build, but we have that working on in the future possibly. But for now, guys, that's it. Thank you for watching. Please like, please subscribe. It helps out the channel immensely. And of course, it's free. And then that way you can get notified when we ever do updates to the guide, or if we start new characters and we want to see the journey for that character and see what kind of builds we come up with from there. But until next time, I hope you enjoy your day, and I hope every day past this is just as wonderful. I'll see you later.